Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Let us recite Surah Fatiha together. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد ونستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. I welcome everyone to this webinar organized by ISIP Nigeria, International Student of Islamic Psychology Nigeria. And today, agenda will be to simply to present the topic before us, which is on practical applications of family issues. Let me check it. I'll go into it in a short while. Let me just quickly do introduction. So today we'll just I'll just quickly go through the guidelines, and after a while we'll ask one of our task force members to read out the bio, and Dr. Salami will take over, inshallah. So quickly, what I expect from everyone is just to keep our mic muted while the speaker is our speaker is speaking, and you don't need to have any recording or do any screenshot. Inshallah, if you need slides, you can always contact us directly, which we are going to provide some link later on. And this recording will be made available after the lecture through our YouTube channel. So even the link to the YouTube channel, we're going to provide it. So if you have any questions, just you can keep them. And after the program, you can ask directly, or you can put them in the chat. Then we'll read it out for you, inshallah. So what is ISIP all about? International Student of Islamic Psychology is an inclusive space designed to connect people with diverse backgrounds interested in Islamic psychology. Our aim is to disseminate knowledge, share resources, discuss best practices in free and accessible manner. It's a platform to enable further development of people's personal and professional interests, studies, and understanding of Islamic psychology within the community and or countries of origin. So in that context, where this is ISIP Nigeria, and so in our own context, we want to try to ensure that we're not just replicating the international activities. We want to ensure that our deliveries or our dissemination of knowledge and sharing of knowledge within each other, it's something that is very more relevant to our region, such that we can use that to project what is happening in our reality to international scene. And that's the essence of having regional chapters and local chapters. So, and that is why today's lecture is going to navigate towards that, as we'll be having some of the case studies that are relevant to our environment in Nigeria, especially. So today's topic is on practical applications to family in crisis. And sorry for this date. And this is because Dr. Salami was our lecturer in exactly this date, so I forgot to change it. It's supposed to be today. And this session is particularly very, very relevant because we had an issue with a sister who supposed had some issues with his family, and then she took a decision by herself, and we wanted to hear about it from her, and then we felt that it is best to discuss this in a more professional way, and that's what Dr. Salam is going to do. So I feel that today's session is very, very important, especially because of the case studies and some of the other case studies that we're going to be reviewing. So there are many ways to participate in ISIP. You can join the YouTube channels and the Islamic Psychology WhatsApp groups, which I will provide inshallah during the discussion, and you can copy that, and you can always message me directly. I also provide my WhatsApp numbers, and if you want to become a member, you can just simply go to www.isip.foundation. So now I will ask Sister Anifa to read the bio of Dr. Salami. Please go ahead, Sister Anifa.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa barakatuh.
Am I audible, please? I'd like to confirm if I'm audible.
I can hear you. That's right.
Okay. So I'll be reading the biodata of our lecturer for today, Dr. Salami. Dr. Salami is a senior lecturer and faculty member of the University PNDD Consultant Idris. Please pardon my pronunciation. Teaching postgraduate courses on family intervention and traumatology. His psychotherapy modality is the integration of Islamic cognitive behavior therapy for people living with depression. Now, apart from being in academics, he enjoys the scientist practitioner model and is currently a visiting clinical psychologist at Khan Psych Services, Kuala Lumpur, and Hospital University Saints Malaysia, HUSM. Please pardon my pronunciation once again. His psychotherapy modalities is the integration of Islamic cognitive behavioral therapy for people living with depression. Dr. Salami's research interest is centered on clinical psychology, positive psychology, and Islamic psychology. He's currently working on a book titled Psychoreligious Functioning of Man. To his honor, I was a former coordinator of the Masters in Clinical Psychology program, jointly hosted by University PNDD Consultant Idris, UPSI, and University Saints Malaysia, USM. Most notably, Dr. Salami is an advisory board member for ISIP Nigeria. You're welcome, Dr. Salami.
Thank you very much. So, Dr. Sami, please, you can go ahead. And I want us to be very attentive because it's quite late this end, and we want to make it beneficial for everyone. So, please, Dr. Salami, please go ahead. Do you want me to share this the slide for you, or you do it from your end? Assalamu alaikum, doctor. Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Salami. Can you hear me? Your mic is muted, so maybe. Let me put up these slides. So let me just. So we're waiting for Dr. Salami. I'm not sure. Let me try to message him. Maybe he's having a challenge with his network. Okay. Now please go ahead now.
All right. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Sorry for the delay. I tried to make this presentation very simple as possible, and I will also try to make best use of the time. Like I said earlier on, actually the time here in Malaysia is 7 hours ahead of that of Nigeria. And as I'm speaking now, I have to actually call the attention of my daughter to help me rectify what went wrong with the audio app and the video part of the laptop I'm using. Because of these children, they can tamper with your laptop at times you don't even expect. Anyway, the topic we are looking at today is actually developed by the precedent of a particular case study, which we are going to look at. And we are actually going to look at other case studies. But before that, we'll be looking at the challenges facing the marriage institution, facing the family institutions. And we also look at the healthy marital family. How does it look like? What are the constituents? Then we look at the case studies itself. I have 3 of them. And lastly, we'll see how well we can take some certain steps to reduce and we cannot actually prevent, to reduce the problems with marriages, with challenges faced by many families. There is no solution to every families across the globe. There is no solution to every families, even in Nigeria. The nature at which families are set up and the way they ended can be very complex, looking at so many number of factors. And let's get through it. Yeah. The next slide, please. Okay, I started with this hadith, giving us a clear background of what actually happens to the family institution, how complex it can be, and how challenging it can be. And just for us to understand the fact that in every family, there is the possibility of a problem. At the moment at which a man and a woman is coming together, there is every possibility, without any form of doubt, that there are going to be challenges and there are going to be problems, and no family is safe. If we are going to put it that way, no family is safe, because the shaitan has a very strong connection to destroying families, to making sure that nobody escape the problems, nobody escape the family challenges, and eventual breakup of every family is his target, because he takes it as a very high pedigree to make sure that families don't survive. And we can see from various statistics across the globe, everywhere on the surface of the earth, when a man and a woman comes together in order to start a family unit, their problem starts immediately. And every opportunity is being taken by the spiritual forces of the shaitan. And at every opportunity that comes their way, they start operating, and until they get to the very end. So it calls for we Muslims to understand this fact, because I see the family issue as a spiritual one. Looking at this I see it as immorality one. Looking at this I see it as the bedrock of every society. If any society is going to actually operate on a functional level, everything comes from the family. All right. And this also gives us the clue that at every problem a family is facing, they need to be at alert, and they need to make sure they take every step to reduce it before it escalates. Because the devil is not at rest. And at any opportunity, like I said earlier on, their goal is to destroy everything. So it now calls for both the man and the woman and everybody involved to make sure that things don't get out of hand and to make sure that every steps taken can help to make that family to survive and, you know, to make the family work. But as you all know, there are other challenges. I mean, there are other factors that can push the family to be dysfunctional, the family to be unhealthy, whichever terms you want to use. Um, um, so based on the complexities we are looking at from various families, we need to understand the fact of culture. Culture plays a very strong role. And that's why I said the solutions or the means to reduce family problems varies from one family unit to another. Across, even in a particular country like Nigeria, it differs. We have different cultural backgrounds and we have different, cultural norms and values. But as Muslims, we need to understand this fact, looking at the possibility that, yes, the guide from our Islamic teachings, either from the Quran and the Hadith, can put us on a better light to make sure that our family survives. Because like I said, we can only make attempts to manage our families until we die. Yes, we're only making attempts to manage it. There's no family without challenges. There are various forms of challenges, and it all depends on how well we are able to, make use of this, ways to reduce the challenges ahead of us. It takes a very strong family unit to withstand the challenges right from when they are being given birth to at the point of their marriage, even before their marriage. There are periods of courtships, all right? And it all started again from how well are you prepared to choose that right person for yourself? What are the criteria you are also taking into place to make your choice? And after making the choice, what are those steps you are taking to understand your differences? We are going to look at all that. So we can only divide the family unit into two, whether it is functioning or dysfunctioning. All right. Like when the COVID and the lockdowns last time, I learned it's not so serious in Nigeria, but it was very serious here. And the lockdown was for close to like a year, combined periods together. And families that are trying to survive ever since before the lockdowns, before the COVID, were exposed. And it was one of the major issues we have to attend to through various clarion calls. And the problem just continues because many families were, left to shatters, if I'll put it that way. And it took a lot. It took a lot for people to get back to themselves. So we can look at other factors, but generally we can divide families into whether it is functioning or not. And we're looking at families in crisis, actually, yes, when the problem actually starts, it ended in divorce, it ended in single parenting, it ended in step families, and those affected just make sure they have to move on with whatever they have after the breakup, after the dissolution and, the breakups and everything. They only continue to manage the shatters because both the man and the woman continue to feel the impact of how their family got dissolved. Yes, everyone will want to move on with their life. At the same time, while moving on, the effect of that breakup, the effect of that family dissolution keeps longing on both parties, both couples. They keep feeling it. Now, if they have children, if there are children involved, it becomes multiple. We are going to look at a case study on that. The problem continues. And looking at divorce in itself, we all know the Quranic stand and how Allah presented it to us, which is really not encouraged. Divorce should always come as the last result. Every means needs to be every means needs to be taken to resolve the differences, to resolve the problems, to make sure the family survives. But divorce should come as the last result, at the very, very last result. And how do we start the family? Because I would not want us to look at families that are not marital in nature. We have so many of them. We have various forms, but those are not our areas of concentration. I don't think we have any business to those kind of families without marriage. And that's what I meant by marital families. Okay, let's focus on this. It all starts with courtship and the culture of faking good. You see, the system at which people come together in the period of trying to know each other and trying to understand each other starts with the concept of courtship. Okay, they meet each other either online or face-to-face, and they started talking to each other and, trying to understand each other and what have you. But the reality is the tendency of both of them faking good. What I mean by faking good is that each party will want to look at themselves as a good person, and they also do everything possible to present themselves as a good person in front of the other. All right. Yeah, I can see it as a natural response when it comes to courtship. I see it as a natural kind of, or maybe I call it like a defense mechanism, which is not according to Sigmund Freud. Maybe I see it that way. But the reality starts when they get married and they start staying under the same roof. Also is the premarital counseling. Here in Malaysia, there is the compulsoriness of engaging in a marital counseling, a course for, I think, about 2 to 3 months that must be done before they actually get married. They need that certificate. There is a certificate given to give you the legality of both of you getting married. You must take that course. That's just the simple truth. And with that counseling, and with that certificate, families are finding it difficult to survive. Some number of families are finding it difficult to survive. The divorce rate, the separation rate is really high. All right. And there are other things we need to look at that. Okay. So we talk about premarital counseling and every preparation necessary for both couples to come together. At the point of marriage is something very natural. All right. For we as Muslims, and even non-Muslims understand the fact that there is every need for you to, make it formal, make it known to people, let everyone understand that both of you are married, make it official, make sure it is registered. I mean, invite friends. It's a natural thing. It's a union between not only the two of you, but a union between both of your families. Parents come to play a very significant role, or a senior member of the family coming to play a very significant role to make sure that this family unit of the man and the family unit of the husband are uniting together under both of you platforms. And is such a very strong bond, all right? And when families comes together, they are only not just building themselves, they are building a community. It's something really natural. And it is only when it is seen in this way that the family or the marriage makes sense to both of them, all right? And when you compare to people coming together without marriage, it's like a loose union. Both of them don't really have anything at stake. And that's what some number of communities and societies are adopting. They don't even care. And of course, when they dissolve, they don't also even care. All right. So the thing is, that marriage is a very strong one. It's natural. It has its religious dimension. Islam has a very strong role and practices to be adopted in order to make it work, in order to unify both families. All right. We also need to see the dimensions of a healthy marital family. There are 5 things there. I call it the big 5. In the next slide, we have that factor that for every family to remain strong and remain functional, both of them needs to have this spiritual prowess. Like we said earlier on, there are a very strong spiritual dimension to every family unit. Both of them need to stand strongly when it comes to their spiritual activities. As Muslims, they need to be very prayerful. As Muslims, they need to recite the Quran to make sure the devil doesn't come or find it difficult to come close to them. They need to be fasting. They need to say all sorts of prayers according to the Quran, according to the Hadith. They need to remain spiritual. They need to be more closer to Allah. What I understand here in this community where I live, right from the very day they are getting married, there are instances, and they even have a name for it, where the kind of prayer they are supposed to do on that day should be very strong. Why? Those that comes to the marriage, that witness the marriage, where everybody's eating and drinking, there are certain factors that relates to the evil eye, all right? And there's a name for the concept here. It's as that serious. And every family is always very fearful when it comes to their young ones getting married. They're always very, like, having this kind of anxiety, okay? Some of my colleagues will even ask me to pray for them when they're about getting married. They have this anxiety even before that day, because there are so many cases, instances that, see, this is not a small business. On that very day, there is that fear, there is that anxiety that someone somewhere is attacking both of them already. All right, that's on the very marriage date. I don't know of how serious that would be in Nigeria. I don't know other communities, but here, based on what I learned so far, is that serious. Talk more of when they started living together and the rest. So both couples need to understand this basis. I don't want to look at why do you need to choose the right person from the premarital or the courtship stage. That's going to take a lot of our time. But at the point of getting married and after getting married, we need to understand this. We need to understand the point of effective communication. All right. We need to understand the concept of mutual supportiveness. Okay. By the time we start looking at the case study for today, we'll see the essence why all these factors are highly necessary. We need to see the factor of flexibility and the factor of shared values. Now, when you look at all these factors, you can see that they all stand as individual factors that makes the family unit a strong one, that makes it a continuous one, the marriage. It's not only the two of them. At the time, it will become when both of them will start bearing children. All right. There are a number of factors connecting to that also. They need to take care of the child. The child starts growing, and at certain times, there are challenges coming from the child, challenges coming from the mom, challenges coming from the dad. The children are becoming 2, they are becoming 3, they need to go to school, okay? All these are making every factor listed here to be very paramount, all right? And until they continue living and they continue living together under the same roof, at the time the children will continue going to school, and at the time it gets so enlarged to a point where the more the family continues to grow, the more challenging it becomes. All right. So, yeah, looking at this big 5, I can easily explain them looking at the case studies. By the time you look at the case studies, you can draw certain points out to see how well they make sense to us. All right. Now, I want us to look at some yellow flag and some red flags here. Some number of families start having problem when they share and allowed interference from family members and friends. Yeah, some number of families have these challenges. Yeah, it's always very possible to have a good faith in sharing. But at the same time, it has become known for experts that this is one of the greatest mistakes. Because like we said, even from your own siblings within your family might be having issues with you when you get married. All right. And it has gotten to that level because somebody just don't want that marriage to work. All right. So there are a number of forces, either spiritual or physical, attacking you and your family at the very, very point where you are living with your spouse. So it's a yellow flag. When there are issues, it is always encouraged both of you do everything possible to settle it before making it known to an outsider. I use the word outsider because it's something dangerous. It has caused many families to crash. That's one. I see it as a yellow flag. When there's chronic financial strain, when the man finds it difficult to provide enough food for the family, when he finds it difficult to provide the financial and the necessary needs for the families to move on, either to the spouse or to the children, there are a number of factors that are causing this not to making sure the man of the house to provide for the family. It's always a problem. Even in number of communities where women are very much active and also helping to provide. It's something very good. A lot of women are very good in doing that to make sure their family survive. They do everything possible to assist the husband. It's something very nice. Here in Malaysia, it is more like a situation where most women or most family has women providing for the family. Okay. So it helps the families to move on. And I do give credit to many of the women here, making sure that their family survives and doing everything possible. Okay. But in a situation where there is that challenges of finance, challenges of providing the necessary resources for the families to move on, for the kids to, get every basic needs they need to get, for the spouse to also feel the impact that, yes, somebody is really taking care of me. All right. and every necessary needs are being taken care of. I mean, we need to understand the fact that, yes, it's something very strong. It's a factor needs to be taken to the highest pedigree for any healthy marital family. Because for a man not to be able to take up this responsibility can be very challenging. And of course, in number of families, a large number of families in Nigeria do believe this as a very strong factor. If you don't have the money, if you don't have the means in the first place, it's always encouraged to hold on and not to start a family, not to start anyone, because there are so much factors attached to this when the man is found wanting and not able to provide. It's such a very challenging situation. I still call it a yellow flag, all right? Family member or the spouse with serious medical or physical disabilities or illness or sickness is also a yellow flag. This is another challenging point for any families to cope with. When things like this happens, because sometimes we cannot run away from challenges. We cannot run away from some of these problems. When sickness strike any family member, all right, either the son or the daughter or the dad or the mom, or even grandparents, okay, siblings, it's something that can be very, very touchy. It can easily be taken care of at the very beginning. But when the sickness or the disability or the problem continue to linger on, it becomes strenuous for the caregivers, for family members to hold on to. And is always challenging for the families to move on. Now, for both couples to be able to give support to either of them when these challenges or this kind of challenge strike them, can expose the family to some number of challenges also. That's why I'm calling it a yellow flag. These factors exposes the families to problems, all right? When they happen, they tend to expose and make the family vulnerable towards becoming unhealthy, all right? And it all boils down to the fact that it is only when some of these challenges strike, then you'll be able to understand the personality, you'll be able to understand the nature of the person you've gotten married to, all right? Things can be very, very nice. These things can be very, very interesting. Things can be very, very enjoyable at the very beginning when there are no problems. So what we are looking at is when problem comes, how is it handled? How do you see the emotional reaction of your spouse? Okay, these are natural reactions that comes in when they happen, because at the very beginning, the spouse, either the guy or the lady, doesn't understand anything at all when they are interacting, either during courtship or after marriage. But when certain problems strikes, I'm only just mentioning one, there are quite a number of them. When they happen, then you get to understand the real nature of your spouse, the real nature of your partner, all right? And that alone can trigger other factors to expose the family to becoming unhealthy. I also see it as a yellow flag. Now, looking at the entire big five, losing out in 2 or 3 of them becomes a red flag. Okay? Either in terms of communication, or in terms of spiritual prowess, or in terms of their mutual supportiveness. Okay? Either 2 of them, when they become missing, 2 or 3 of them, when they become missing, that already indicates a red flag in that family. We are going to look at that. Now, when we look at these factors, we can see that, okay, my spouse can be good in this particular factor. Yes, he's so supportive. He can defend me for anything. In fact, he's my very best friend. Because when you are interacting with your spouse, when you're interacting with your partner, the person you know so well during courtship, and after getting married, you get to continue to understand him or her the more. But when it comes to certain areas, you can see that, yes, both of you are really interacting well. You can realize it's your best friend. That kind of friend you do make when you are a teenager. You have somebody very close to you, you call that person your best friend. Your husband or your spouse is supposed to be your best friend. All right? That's the highest level of interaction. You are so good in that, so he can defend you for anything. All right? You're also showing flexibility, because by the time both of you are like getting to know each other, after faking good during courtship and everything, and getting to know each other, you get to realize that, oh, my wife is always snoring during sleep. And I'm so pissed off with that. And, you know, but you have to be flexible in accepting her for who she is. All right. Snoring can be a natural response. If there are any remedy for it, yes, you need to provide it. Okay, for her to adjust. Or the husband is the type that is having body odor, and the woman, how no, some women can hate odors. Yes, you just have to accept it. During the courtship days, you have no idea what kind of odor your husband is. In fact, at that point, he's always coming with the best perfume. But when reality strikes, this same husband is not really the best in using perfume. He only uses it before, at that period when both of you are like still faking good. So the reality is that this is who you are getting married. This is who you have to live with. You're already married, right? So this is somebody you have to live with. Is that how you help him to improve using the perfume, or you continue living with him like that? All right. So there is that mutual supportiveness that comes with flexibility to adjust. You just need to keep adjusting to whatever you see for real when both of you are living together. All right. So looking at these factors, when 2 or 3 are missing, it's already a red flag. That family is in a downward turn already. I'm going to share, because looking at everything, I'm going to share an instance where there is this union that came together, and it wasn't known to the wife. The wife is, we are looking at an instance of a medical issue, which is also something very challenging in the Nigerian setting, across some number of families anyway. It's the issue of SS and AS. Okay. The woman is AS, and of course, according to many medical advice, you don't get married to an SS, okay, or something like that. And of course, even our AS husband should not be an option for precautionary measures, right? And unknown to this woman, she wasn't informed. And even while she was doing a background check of the guy, she couldn't get the true picture of who the guy is. Unfortunately, after marriage, she comes to understand that the guy is an SS guy. The husband is an SS person. And they have the first child. The girl was okay. They had the second child, and it became an issue. All right. And it is not even the issue of the second child, the girl child, that triggered the whole thing. What triggers everything is that the man was not faithful enough to explain and express himself as an SS person. The man doesn't even know that the wife is also AS. The issue was not even discussed at the very beginning. So that ended the marriage. That is a very strong factor that ended marriage. Okay. So it was a very brutal one. I mean, it's both families argued and fought each other on this issue. Okay. And there's another one. On the male side, there tends to be some kind of how do I put it? Some kind of unfaithfulness, secrecy, not exposing themselves, not making sure that they don't disclose, conniving with the family members, conniving with his own siblings, conniving with his parents, that this issue should not be disclosed because I need to get married, I need to start my own family, and some other issues like that. So every family wants to protect their own son. And by the time they get married and things become exposed, it's something very disastrous. As I'm talking to you, that second child eventually died. All right. And, it was so messy. And that's just one of the points we need to take into consideration when it comes to medical issues, when it comes to sickness issues. This is affecting some number of families today. I don't know if you have any addition to this list. I just feel maybe if there's any contribution here, we can also put it in the chat box. What makes a marital family unhealthy? There's a number of factors, but I'm able to put up this. I'm able to put all these factors we can see on the screen. If you have any addition, please, let's look at it. So maybe we can include it into the discussion. I've left Nigeria since 2008. I don't know what's really happening much, especially when it comes to family issues. But based on my experience and based on what I hear from some families, I mean, some, okay? But generally in Nigeria, I don't really know what's really happening. I will put it that way. I can only talk about what I know before I left, but it's been like almost 15 years now. So maybe there are other pressing and disturbing issues affecting families. Yeah, the next slide. Okay, this is our first case study for today. I name our woman here XY. After 2 months of courtship, she got married to her husband through some family-connected arrangements. Okay. Her husband is reported to excessively use the phone at home most times at the expense of normal communication. The marriage was just 4 years, and she reported her ex-husband to be unprotective and always exposing her marital affairs and shortcomings to family relatives and friends. Personality compatibility. Yes, personality compatibility is connected to okay, I will get back to that. I will get back to that from another case study. Let's go on with this. The marital relationship turned downward when the husband subjects XY to washing the clothes of his nephews and nieces. I want us to pick every sentence in this case study so seriously. Every sentence here means a lot. It was also reported that XY's former husband always compares her to the brother-in-law's wife offensively. Part of XY's marital discord heightened when the ex-husband derogated her due to her low educational levels. So maybe we need to ask a question here, whether it is belittling for a woman not to go to a higher institution for further studies before marriage. Maybe we need to start looking at that. This despicable situation resulted to ex-wife's feeling of sadness, anxiety, and being disempowered. Okay. The marriage was dissolved with ex-wife taking care of their only child. Looking at this case study, we could see that there are some number of factors that affected the marriage. There are some number of factors that make the marriage to be an unhealthy one. And also, these factors accumulated together to make the family dysfunctional. Okay? Before it led to the final dissolution. Looking at this case study, we could see that culture has a role to play when it comes to proper understanding of the two couples coming together in the sake of a marital family. Culture plays a very strong role. For instance, I can understand vividly that it looks like a cultural issue in the north part of Nigeria for a lady to get married without going to higher institution. While in the southwest, another Muslim family in the southwest, or some number of Muslims in the southwest, if not majority, hold on to the fact that no, the girl child needs to go to a higher institution of learning and at least have a degree before getting married. I don't know if I'm making any sense here. I do have this dichotomy of the North and the Southwest on this issue. There are some number of comments going on. Let me see, they just pop up on the screen. Yeah. So what we are looking at here is very much clear that this family is having a problem from the very beginning. It's also connected to the fact that this family or this marriage, if I use the word marriage, started on a wrong footing. Why do I say that? Is they only had a courtship for 2 months. Now, in these 2 months, it was reported that, or based on XY's report, it wasn't, or she wasn't given the opportunity to understand fully well who the man she's getting married to be known to her. In 2 months, she was only able to know very little of the man who she was getting married to. 2 months is really not enough. In 2 months, she was only able to interact with family members of the husband, those who are close to the husband, were the only one giving her the information of who the husband is. So she finds it, of course, not possible to know the husband through a third party or an independent source. All right. So those who actually introduced the husband to her are those she really knows. And 2 months is really not enough. Okay. And when we are talking about courtship, yes, courtship is really not even encouraged in certain settings when it is so elongated. Some people can engage in courtship for 1 year, for 2 years, and that also having its own challenges. But at the same time, for married or youngsters who are trying to get married, it is always encouraged for you to really know who you are getting married to, because various individuals with various differences, with various personality, positions. I mean, you really need to understand who the person you are getting married to. You really need to understand who he is or who she is in terms of how does he, look like. You can remember vividly from the hadith of the prophet when a Sahaba went to meet him that, I want to get married to this woman and I'm coming to tell you about the plan for our marriage. And the prophet asked him, have you seen her? He said, no. And the prophet said, go and look at her, go and see her first, for you to know whether you really like her. That hadith indicates a very strong message that you need to understand, you need to first of all know. It's a different thing for the woman to be covering her face. When she's covering her face, at least only the face is enough for you to see. This is the person I want to get married to. That hadith also indicates that, see, you need to know the person, understand the person. It may take 1 month, it may take 2 months, it may take 3 months. You need to really know. You need to do, in the current day setting in Nigeria and other places, you need to do a background check. If it's possible, you even employ a private investigator, as we put it, for you to really get to understand who this person actually is, in terms of his spiritual prowess, in terms of his manner of interaction and everything. Because when both of you are talking and interacting with each other, like I said earlier on, there is that element's possibility of faking good, all right? So, and by the time you start discussing with the friends, of course, you need to understand that whatever the friends or family members are telling you may be at the interest of the husband and not to your own interests. So that's one major thing we need to understand. For youngsters, get to know exactly who your partner looks like. What are his personality? What kind of way of interaction does he adopt? I mean, try to understand the person vividly, okay? And another issue here is when there are challenges and there are problems, who do you talk to? Who do you interact with? Okay? Like I said earlier on, we need to understand the fact that, yes, both of us need to talk to ourselves. We need to really understand ourselves. We need to address our problems ourselves. We need to do everything possible ourselves before it even goes to our parents. All right? We need to sit down, take time, give your husband or your wife all the necessary excuses to adjust. All right? We'll come to all that later. That doesn't really happen here in this family, in this marriage. And why did I put it here again is that this marital relationship had a downward turn when the husband was asking the wife to wash the clothes of his niece and nephews. That's a traditional issue. That's an indication of a normal African traditional society or cultural norm, where we are looking at a patriarchal patriarchal society or patriarchal family norm, where the man takes dominance and have every authority to do anything with the wife, those kind of orientation. In the 21st century, I don't see it's meaningful. For any family to be adopting that at this time, I mean, is already digging the grave of the end of that family. And I still feel pity for women experiencing this situation at this time of our existence. The wife is never a slave, all right? Okay, I think that's very clear. The problem starts with that, okay? The problem got worse when the husband is even comparing the wife to the wife of his own brother. I mean, it's so derogatory. We need to also understand that this marriage was, already on the downward turn, with the fact that the the wife was not having a degree. The wife was only having a secondary school certificate as at the time they are getting married. And the husband is now using it as a derogatory statement to her that it's like your family, your own family did not even take care of you, talk more of you going to school, those kind of dirty statements from a man. I mean, it's like the marriage is not even meant to work in the first place. So while I see it as derogatory, maybe it's also traditional. Maybe it's also part of an issue we need to debate. Is it a big issue? Because I know in the North, ladies get married without even a degree and the family survives. In fact, some ladies eventually start their degree after marriage and they progress very well academically. And some of them are even becoming lecturers, are becoming professors. Okay, so how do we see this? I don't know if we have any contribution also to this. I've not been able to go much into the chat. Yeah, is this really an issue to be debated, to be addressed, or I don't know, because
Do you want people to actually speak up? Otherwise,
maybe if possible, that will give us more better
so
understanding.
anyone that wishes to,
Or we leave it to the question and
go
answer
ahead.
something.
Yeah, if it is not, let me leave it to you because I see that you want some responses. That's why I asked you this question.
It's okay. It's okay if we can hold on, or we just
Yeah, we
maybe
can leave.
we can put the comments in the chat also. Very nice. Let's go to the second case study.
Okay, please.
Yeah, the first one is a Muslim family that got broken and got dissolved in 4 years. This is after a dissolved marriage. Maria is a single parent. Electricity was disconnected for owing almost 1,500 USD and had not made a payment towards her utilities for more than a year. She's a single parent with 3 young children, George, Carlos, and Isabel, 2 of whom have a disability. I mean, we are talking about George and Carlos. Maria is very distressed. She explains that her children have suffered serious injuries 2 years previously and her partner has left, unable to cope with the children's disabilities. She expects a large insurance payout shortly. She left her job as an elementary school teacher last year as she was unable to find someone to take care of her children. She found that the child care centers do not have the means to accommodate her children's special needs, and she cannot afford live-in help. She's currently staying at home to take care of her children, but she would like to return to work. Okay, this just an example of a broken family. You can imagine how the family started and how the family ended, and Maria becoming a single parent, taking care of 3 children, 2 of whom have disabilities. It can be very distressing. This is what happened to a broken family. This is what happened to a divorced family. All right. Some parents found themselves, some men also are finding themselves as single parents. It is never a way out for any of them. It is never a way out for any families in single parenting or even step parenting. Most importantly, we need to understand the fact that the children pays a lot of the price when children are involved, okay? It can be that devastating. So when we are saying that divorce is something really hateful in the sight of Allah, we know what we are talking about. It's something very serious. Families, couples need to do everything possible to hold on to the fact that their marriage survives. We are looking at some number of families, like in this case, it's a Western one. Perhaps, of course, maybe there wasn't any marriage before they got, while they are getting married or coming together in the first place. So, but as Muslims, we need to understand the sanctity of marriage, of course. And even after getting married, we are not safe, obviously. Families are breaking up. I read some statistics. It can be very devastating. And we need to understand the after effect. We need to understand the after effect of when the family break up, what happens? Who suffers the most? Let's leave aside the emotional trauma, the emotional disturbance from both the man and the woman after they keep moving on. But let's look at the after effect to the children, all right? And how well they will be able to cope with it. Okay, so this is just another one. Let's go to the third one. I make the third one very short. It's a case I got to know of here. I called the woman PQ. Divorced with 2 children, age 5 and 8. She requested for a therapist assessment report for his 5-year-old son. Okay, this was a result of some noticeable maladaptive behaviors observed from her son after returning from a 2-day-a-week stay with his ex-husband. All right, this is another dissolved family, like 4 years ago. That was before the COVID. Before the COVID, 2019, yes, 5 years ago. Now, what happened was both of them got divorced, and for custody's sake, they both went to the court, okay? Custody of the children. And the court ruled that the woman has to take 5 days a week, and the husband takes 2 days during weekends. So what happened? The 8-month-old remains with the woman, all right, because she has to keep taking care. Now that's 8-month child will be 5 years. And the boy at that time, who is a 5-year-old kid, a 5-year-old kid, will go to the husband's place Friday evening after returning from school, okay, to stay with the parent, to stay with the dad for Saturday and Sunday. Sunday evening, he will go back to the mom to prepare for school and everything on Monday. So that was the arrangement for the past 3 to 4 years. Now, it was so painful for the woman to understand that the man has moved on, as it is always called. The man got married to another lady. And it's so painful for the woman to see how his son goes to the man's house under the custody of his step mom, right? And she realized again that the boy, when he goes to the dad's place, is so free, nothing at stake. All through Saturday and Sunday, the boy plays video game on the TV, and he got all the freedom in the whole world. And the assignment he's supposed to do from school, the assignment is supposed to do over the weekend, he doesn't do it, and it comes to the mom Sunday evening and start trying to rush all the homework. The mom becomes so destabilized and so, distressed with the whole thing. So what happened? The woman has to come to the therapist, which I come to know, and she's now asking for an assessment of the boy, proving some maladaptive behavior, to go to the court again and tender for full custody of that boy. So you can imagine what transpires after divorce. The problem continues, and it continues, and it continues like that, most especially when children are involved, okay? So this is just another case study we can have in mind to understand the fact that when marriages don't work, when divorce comes to be the aftermath of everything, these are the effects. So youngsters who are about to get married need to understand. They need to really know what exactly comes with marriage. All right. It can be a very blissful experience, and it is necessary for it to be well managed because there are going to be challenges. It's not a rocket science to understand. There are going to be challenges, and those challenges need to be understood vividly and to be well managed. All right. So I come with some number of hadiths. I selected some hadiths to be the management techniques, or how do we resolve marital problems? How do we tend to understand what it takes to manage marital problems in order not to get to the state of divorce? Okay. One of them is on the screen now. When some companions asked the Holy Prophet ﷺ that, can you tell us which kind of wealth is the best so that we may strive to acquire it? He said the best wealth is a remembering tongue, one who is doing zikr, that remembers Allah always, a thankful heart, okay, that always appreciates whatever Allah has blessed him with in terms of gratitude and those kind of things, and a believing wife who will help you with your faith. So in this context, we can also take it on the other side, and a believing husband who will also help you with your faith. All right. So we can see that it is a believing issue. It is a faith issue. It is a spiritual issue for the partner we are trying to choose, or for those of us who are married, to hold on spiritually, that yes, we have to be in support of each other spiritually. We need to understand the fact that our spouse has to be a spiritual one. He has to be, of course, a believing one. He needs to also practically, engage in spiritual activities to make the family much more stronger, to make the family unit or members of the family, or to make the marriage keep functioning. All right. So there's need for that faith factor in the spouse. That's just the bottom line. We need to understand that. And for we married families, we need to understand the fact that, yes, as we keep growing, we also need to make sure that our children get spiritual things going. They need to also be praying. They need to be reading the Quran. Okay, they need to be doing the zikr. I mean, because what happens with the family, like we said earlier on, can be very devastating when Shaitan is having an opportunity to penetrate. Okay. In another hadith, it is encouraged that a man should not hate his wife if he sees in her something he dislikes. Because if he dislikes one particular character or behavior, there is every possibility he will need to like another one that makes us for it. A woman or a man can never be of bad character in every aspect. There is something you need to see goodness in. I mean, there is that chance for you to see the good side of your partner. There is that chance for you to see and understand the good side of who you've gotten married with. Initially, you may not see it in the courtship days, but after getting married, both of you must have seen a lot of things in each other. You must have been encouraging each other for spiritual upliftment. You must have been encouraging each other for certain behavioral disposition among yourself, okay? And you must have seen some good and positive exhibition from your partner. So you need to understand the fact that even though there are some shortcomings, there are some, behaviors that you don't like, we need to concentrate and always focus on the positive one. Because it was reported that The Prophet ﷺ mentioned, no believing man should hate a believing woman. If he dislikes one of her characteristics, he will be pleased with another. All right. So apart from the feelings here, we also need to go and understand the thinking part of it. We need to always look at that also. Now, in another hadith, Abu Hurairah mentioned that the Prophet ﷺ said, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy on the man who gets up at night and prays. Then he wakes his wife and she prays. And if she refuses, he sprinkles water in her face. And may Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy on the woman who gets up at night and prays. Then she wakes her husband and prays. And if he refuses, she sprinkles water in his face. So the big question is, how many of us are doing this? We are still looking at the spirituality nature of making the family work, making the marriage work. We are talking about zikir, now we are talking about tahajjud. We need to help each other to move on spiritually. We need to understand the fact that, yes, Shaitan is out there waiting for the closest opportunity to strike. While we engage ourselves peacefully and we live our life normally, spirituality-wise, we need to keep moving on together. We need to encourage each other. The Prophet even advised that when you wake your spouse up, sprinkle water in his face or in her face. If he or she desires not to wake up, sprinkle water. It's that serious. All right? Yes, that's the extent which we need to go, which we need to understand. Because for so many reasons, our marriage needs to work. Yes, we are the one trying to build up the society. We are the one trying to make impact in every community where we live in. It all starts from us. It all starts from how we engage each other. It also connected to our children. Whatever we're able to build up within the family, people will get to see it from our children. When they go to school, when they're interacting with other kids, everything comes from us. So for that family to work, we need to be highly spiritual. All right. And looking at this Quranic verse, in terms of management, where there are problems, we need to understand the fact that, yes, like I said earlier on, problems will continue to come, challenges will continue to show itself to both spouse. And of course, that's not going to stop. So the thing is, when the family, both of them find it difficult to cope after they've made every effort to make sure it works and things are getting a downward turn and things are not really making sense for them to work things together, okay, their families need to be involved. Like in this Quranic verse, Surah An-Nisa verse 35, and if you fear dissension between the two, send an arbitrator from his people and an arbitrator from our people. If they both desire reconciliation, Allah will cause it between them. If they want to settle, Allah will make it easy for them. Indeed, Allah is ever knowing and acquainted with all things. All right. So, yes, if really they actually want the marriage to work, Allah is always there to help them out. Okay. So it's all involving. In the very first place, like we mentioned earlier on, both families came together as a union. And when there are issues, there are problems, the families need to be called to help out, to resolve the differences. It can also be seen from the perspective that if the families are not really in best position, sometimes maybe the parents, the in-laws are not even there. All right. It's also very interesting and very necessary for us to involve a party that can be trusted between the two of them. to resolve the issues, to help out in resolving the problems in all ramifications to make sure the family work and the marriage continues. Because divorce is not really a good option, but it only comes as a last resort when things are not really working, okay? Even the family of the Prophet ﷺ is not spared. It was reported that the Prophet got to know so many things about his wife, of course, Aisha, may Allah have mercy on her. The interaction between them, I want to stress the issue of communication here. The Prophet got to understand that when our mother Aisha is speaking to her, speaking to him, and during the course of interaction and they are talking, you always refer to the Prophet as Rasulullah. But when Aisha is not happy and she's annoyed and the interaction is not good at that time, it doesn't refer to the Prophet as Rasulullah. The Prophet already knew, oh, Aisha is angry, things are not in good shape. I can understand. So it calls for every family, it calls for every spouse to really understand the communication patterns of your wife, of your husband, all right? And that's eventually make effective communication makes more sense. The communication becomes effective when there is proper understanding of how that interaction between the two of you, emanates. How the interaction makes sense to the two of you is only when both of you are able to understand vividly, either emotion-wise, cognitive-wise, you're able to understand exactly what is going on in your spouse. It doesn't come that easy, but with effective communication, you get to know. Based on what the Prophet told us, this is how it is with Aisha. They had an issue, and the Prophet suggested that, was it Aisha that suggested that they should take it to Abu Bakr? To Umar at first. The Prophet said, no. Now, why can't we take it to your dad, to Abu Bakr? And Aisha accepted. Okay? And the issue was taken to Abu Bakr. No matter have mercy on his soul. All right? And Abu Bakr was like, you come here to report and complain about Rasulullah? Oh, no. The prophet now cautioned him that, no, in this context, I'm not here as a prophet. In this context, I'm here as your father-in-law. Sorry, I'm here as your son-in-law. We are here to address an issue. Please address the issue. Okay? So Abu Bakr was able to address the issue and it was resolved. Now, from this incident, we can understand vividly that even the prophet understand the essence of Salam, the essence of why differences should be resolved. Okay? Why it is necessary for we to understand our spouse, our husband, our wives. Why we need to understand them through effective communication. We need to know vividly when our spouse is not happy. We need to know when he or she is having some negative emotions, she's hungry, she's frustrated, or is emotionally aggressive. The man can be anything. Yes, the wife needs to understand when one person is shouting at the top of his voice, the other should not. Okay? These are all precautionary measures. And as you can see, the prophet also understands this. And he did make consultation. There is need for consultation in order to make sure that the marriage continues and it works. All right. Like I said, every family is not safe. It all depends on how well we're able to manage it. And among the big five, effective communication is very key. All right. to making sure the family works. This is where we are going to end it. The Almighty Allah make it easy for us to understand more better than the way I've put it. Astaghfirullah wa lakum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakumullah khairan for this beautiful presentation and a lot of information. So I know it's late now, so we just jump into. I think I should ask. Should I? Let me just read out the question that I have with me, and then from there we can. Or do you want us to ask people to ask? I think it's better if you can raise up your hand, and then you can ask a question. Then while I put up, try to gather the questions together. So anybody that wants to speak rather than typing their question can just raise up your hand, and we can speak up, inshallah. Quite a number of people are active in the chat box, but they are not willing to speak up. Okay, lots of Jazakumullah khairan for the presentation, Dr. Salami. Okay, so let me just read out some of the questions that I have here with me. So, Sister Kafila Ayatollah asked earlier, how well can a woman know her prospective husband? Does Islam encourage courtship? How will she get to know her prospective husband when it's just a visit he pays? So just around about how well should we know to what extent are we supposed to know our prospective husband? So this is the first question. You want me to read another one, or you want to answer this
one? Okay, maybe I just take this one. Yeah, I didn't mention something on this. To any level, you can try to know. To any level. Because the person you are talking about is somebody who you are supposed to hold on to the very last breath of your life. The marriage you are talking about is a life endeavor. It's going to be somebody who you are going to live the rest of your life with. All right. You can't afford to just jump into it without understanding who this guy is. Okay. And like I said, even in the courtship days, even it gets into months, it gets into years, both of you will keep faking good. Yes. And getting information from the family members may not be enough. Yeah, every family wants to protect their own. And if it's possible, get to know from the friends, get to know from somebody who can give you, relevant and accurate information. Even if possible, try to get to know his school history. How was he in secondary school? Is he part of those who are organizing violence during inter-house sports like those days? Try to know his school history. Maybe you even try to become a counselor, a psychologist at that point. Get to know his school history, get to know his medical history, know everything possible. Yeah. So it's something really interesting to know and to understand when it comes to spouse selection. Yeah, the love can be there. It's all about the emotions. The emotions the love can be a blinding factor. Of course, we all agree that love is blind. When emotion comes in, you may not be able to even remember all this. And even if you remember to check, it may not really be a serious factor to you anymore. Right? Some number of factors must have come into play for you to undermine these issues. But for the betterment of yourself, the betterment of your own family, I think it's always very necessary to know everything possible. If it warrants getting to know them from a third party, from a private investigator, I think it calls for it. Because, like I said, and as we all know, marriages are really breaking up. And it all boils down to the selection process and how do you guys come together. Almighty Allah make it easy for us.
Okay, so another one from Sister Aisha Yusuf. Intending couples don't have the knowledge of what to know in a prospective spouse. marriage counseling should start. So, okay, I think this is a comment. She starts to start that door. Okay, so I think this she's saying that most of the prospective spouse are innocent. They don't really know what they should learn about marriage, and there's a need for marriage counseling. So for me, I think everybody always agrees. So I want maybe Doctor should comment on it. Everybody always agree that I should marry counseling, and that's what one of our brother was stating in the comment earlier about northern culture where there is a massive divorce rate, and he's saying that because there is no marriage counseling. So we're supposed to set up this marriage counseling. So maybe I should ask this question: and how do we agree on how it should be done? Maybe you looking at it from the model of what you mentioned about Malaysia. So can you comment about that?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, marital counseling, like a precursor before marriage, was set up here for some number of years ago, looking at the level of divorce rate, of course. And the divorce rates also have not even subsided. Okay. And the marital counseling or the marriage counseling that is made compulsory here for them to do before they can get the certificate, because that certificate will now warrant them to conduct the marriage. Okay, there is that enforcement. I try to ask, because I don't, it's a government issue, it's more adopted by, it's a program adopted by the religious plus government institution. Okay, so if it's going to be something workable, it has to be a combined program from, of course, maybe the state government in Nigerian setting and a recognized religious body. I don't know. In the
Which
Muslim,
is a bit challenging because okay, it's easier in the north where it's more or less like a Muslim state in many of the states, but coming to southwest and south,
it's possible in the southwest. It's just for the state government. Yeah, I think the state government should be responsible for this. It's for the state government to have an established religious institution, both on the Islamic and the Christian side, at least these two religions, where the well-known religious scholars collaborate with government officials to organize a kind of a program.
But you know, to follow that, you know, in Nigeria we don't have. I mean, we just go by traditional weddings. We don't have this kind of official. So some people don't even care about. Okay, we need to have this official contract written in court or in certain by certain Muslim organizations. So in this case, because okay, we just feel that because this is the sunnah way of doing it, you just do like meeting your family and all that. So how do we check? Should it be that government must mandate that before you get married, there must be this certificate that you must get from government or from certain organization to be recognized that you're married? So meaning that before you get that certificate, there must have been a notice that will not prompt counseling. I don't know if I'm making sense.
In the Nigerian setting, I can understand how difficult it can be implemented, because like in the Malaysian setting, for instance, the government has a high level of control, okay, here. And when it comes to religious activities, they also have a very high level of control, which is not the same as in the Nigerian setting. So I can understand what you are saying. So what is actually workable for Muslims, either in the southwest or in the north, is for religious bodies. I think, yeah, our religious bodies have some level of control over what their members do at the family level, not only for marriage, even for naming ceremonies and for burial ceremonies. I mean, religious bodies do have some level of control at that level. Now, these religious bodies need to see it as, you know, a very serious, what I mean by serious, a very serious responsibility to make sure that the marriage you are conducting for members The marriage we are encouraging members to do need to be sanctified at a religious and organizational level, okay? They should make sure it is, if possible, it is free for the counseling. They should make sure that both men and young men and women are encouraged to understand the implication of what they're actually going into. So it all depends on every Muslim organizations in this context to see it as something really, really serious. Because when your marriage breaks up, when it leads to divorce, the after effect is not going to be on the family alone. It's going to it's affecting the communities already. It's affecting the society also. All right. And it's not a family thing anymore. It's a community problem. It's a societal problem. So, like you said, I mean, the religious Muslim bodies need to see this as something really, really serious. So, instead of organizing lectures only on spiritual activities, lectures should focus on marital and family effects. What is the implication? They need to sensitize members that, see, it's not all about the emotion and it's not all about the family factors alone. It's involving some number of things. The product of every family is what is leading to what we see on the streets. Those children on the streets, members of the community in the political terrain, they are embezzling money today, they are doing that tomorrow. Children on the street are smoking weed. They are all from every family unit. They have a family where they come from. So, in fact, it's so devastating that some parents now needs counseling, not even only their children, where the situation has gotten to now. Parents also need counseling because in the first place, some parents are not even capable of handling a marriage before they went into it. The mistake has been done already. It is for religious bodies to even come together and look at, how do we address the weight and problems hitting our family unit, hitting our family system. The system is collapsing, all right? And it's not just collapsing, it is facing a war that is, the family unit, the family system is facing a war with the media, war with the social media. I'm talking about the media, even in the movie industries, war from the social media, war from every angle. So it needs to be seen from this perspective.
I do have, alhamdulillah, I think just before, I have two people raising their hands. Just been notified that Sister Nafisa Ayatuddin and Sister Shakira. So, inshallah, Sister Nafisa, you come up now. But let me just quickly comment on some of the things that I've read while you're speaking. I'm glad that someone said that premarital counseling is now compulsory in Lagos State. This is impressive, especially for those using the registry. However, Christians benefit more from it. I want to know, maybe you give us more details, Shakira, when you're speaking, inshallah. And then, okay, we have organizations like Binakum Family Counseling Center. I think this is in Abuja that train coaches and counselor, and mosque like Anur Mosque encourages marital counseling and have a lot of trained coaches and counselors. That's impressive. I think these are like micro effort, and obviously, inshallah, it's something that should be encouraged to go into. I mean, every, like Dr. Salami said, every Islamic organization should take it as a serious project. Okay, so it's not enough to have those coaches and centers. What percentage of all really? Okay, okay, that's a comment. Okay, so Sister Nafisa, can you please, you can speak, please. Can I mute your mic?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I had sent my questions as a reply to your message on the group chat.
Okay, so you want me to read it out, or you can still go ahead? Fine.
Please, no, please just read it out. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I wanted the speaker to comment on where a woman should draw the line in staying in a marriage. Okay, meaning that you have a marriage in crisis already. So you want to know at what point should I say that I need to leave? I have heard women wish their spouses dead, wish they have accident or something. Not that they want to kill them, all as an easier way out as society blames the woman for a failed marriage. That's number one. Secondly, would you recommend financial empowerment and independence for women in order to prevent some of the marital problems we have in Nigeria today? As economic realities in Nigeria are pushing people and marriages to the edge. Jazakallah khair. Now, Dr. Salami.
Okay, looking at the first one, only Allah knows what must have pushed the woman to wish the husband in such situation. And that family is completely in crisis, as you said. And if you want to know at exactly what time should you call it off, is such a very difficult one. Of course, I don't have the details of what must have happened, but the first advice is, if there are kids involved, if both of you has children, okay, like what our mothers used to tell us those days, try to look at the effect on those children first, okay? Try to understand the after effect on the children. I've seen a marital family here when I was teaching, some postgraduate students in family intervention. One of my students gave a case study, and the case study was between, it's very close to this. The case study was between a man who is a highly rated government official. The woman is just a normal housewife, and there are about 3 children. This man is extremely abusive. I use the word extreme. Extremely abusive. He beats the woman to coma. And when the woman goes to the police and makes all the report, they ask her to go and resolve things with her husband. Okay? And when she discussed with the families and everything, there's no way out. She discussed even with the friends in the office. Unfortunately for this woman is holding on because of what? That man is also providing heavily for her and the children. The next following day or the next 2 days, he will buy one of the best gifts for the woman and they will resolve it. And 2 weeks or 3 weeks later, another serious beating. And it keeps like that. It's like episode after episode after episode. Eventually, this woman met my students for therapy. What should I do? How do I address this situation? Emotionally, I'm still attached to this man. Financially, I cannot even do without him because he's actually addressing my needs and my children's needs. The woman decided not to call it off, even at the advice of friends and other women. So the therapist was even in a deadlock. What kind of advice is he going to give to this client? You know, so you will be the one to decide when to call it off. Considering the fact that I don't know what the husband is doing to warrant that the wife should be wishing death for the husband, but it must have gone to a very chronic level. It must have gone to a very serious level where the woman cannot accept it anymore. Yeah, it can get to that. At the same time, we need to look at the effect of dissolving the marriage, look at the effect on the children, and how do you cope? Some women can handle that. Yes, financially, they are very okay. They can even take the kids out of the country and live a better life somewhere else after the divorce, yes. But at the same time, they need to also look at other factors. Okay, so it all depends on the woman when when she fully decides to call it off, looking at the severity of the scenario or the case of the husband. But other factors also need to be considered. If possible, try to see good side of that man and see how well you can move on. But if it's not possible, yeah, the solution of the marriage is also allowed, but weigh the consequences. Yeah, that's the best thing we can look at here.
Okay.
Allah. On the second one, relating to, I forgot just now, relating to the financial, can you repeat me?
Yes. Yes.
The financial aspect
You
of,
empower. What will you say that? Will you encourage women to be empowered?
yes. In the current economic downturn, globally, women are much advised to help out because things are really bad in every country right now. Globally, since after the COVID, many countries are yet to really survive economically. In the Nigerian setting, I don't know how to paint it. If the woman has a means to support the husband, please, they need to do in order to ensure that their family survive, their marriage survives. They should do everything possible to help out the husband. And I mean, you know, it's highly encouraged. Unfortunately, in Nigerian or African traditional societies where there is male dominance in a patriarchal sense, the man may feel offended, yes. The man may understand that, no, for the woman to be taking this responsibility is like, is a slap on my face and those kind of understanding. I think in the current situation, men can also understand that, yes, if their women are bringing in something, I think it's good for both of us. So it's not a matter of patriarchal sense of leadership anymore. But for a reasonable man, a Muslim man who really understands that, yes, his family comes first and his marriage comes first, will understand that, yes, the woman can be of help. And I think some families are very much good at that at the moment, based on what I know.
Okay, so we have so many questions. So what I will do now is, please pardon me the question. I'll try to read all of the questions. You just take of maybe key points and answer them all together. So is that okay by you?
It's okay, please. Let's see how we address them.
After that, then we have Shakira can speak because I think she raised up her hand earlier on. So first question. I don't know this person's name. In Phoenix said, "Assalamu alaikum, sir. You made mention of making your spouse your best friend, being open in communication. In a situation where such lead to mockery from your husband during dispute, what do you do?" So that's it. First question. Second question from Brother Kim Olayinka. I said, what is the effect of one single divorce pronouncement in it? I think this is relating to more of a fit question, but if you are confident to answer this question, you can answer. So he said, what is the effect of one single divorce pronouncement in Islam, i.e., before making making it three pronouncement? So Stafsa asked, what happens when it's one person putting in all efforts while the other just acts like he or she is not in the marriage, maybe because of maybe because he's no longer interested or just not capable of making the needed effort, but doesn't mind receiving the acts of goodness of the spouse. I hope that is clear. Sakafila said, what does one need to do to a man who doesn't talk or communicate with his wife? Most often when his opinions are sought, he will say he doesn't have anything to say or just make a monotonic response. Okay. Sister Hassan Belikis asked this: what can someone do after the other spouse left his responsibility for the woman to be doing it? His family knows about it, but he insisted not to do it, not to do anything. I think not doing it. Okay. Yeah. And then the last one: can threat of divorce on children was than the effect of losing the parents to death? Okay. Can effect of divorce on children be worse than effect of losing parents to death on some children, on same children? meaning that okay, weighing the two together. So if the parent die or if they divorce. So which one do you think will have more negative impact on the children? I think that's the last question. Dr. Muniruddin is asking, Doctor, please reiterate that women should do everything legally possible so you are not misinterpreted. Okay. I think he's commenting on, I think Dr. Muniruddin can talk later so that, because I'm not sure what he's commenting on. So, Sister Shakira, please, can you please quickly ask a question or make your comment, then Dr. Salami can summarize his answers. Sister Shakira, are you there, Sister Shakira? Okay, I think maybe she's not close to the mic. So, Dr. Salami, you can go ahead, please.
Okay, I think I'll be needing your assistance to get the questions more clearer. I was trying to jot down so hurriedly. Like the first one was related to communication patterns, right?
Yes. Like when you said you make mention of being a friend with your spouse. So it's not saying, yeah, communication, yes. But the person is not saying, what if it becomes like a mockery? That your husband, maybe because of we are too close to them, and they're now making mockery of some things you did while you are being fun with them. So I think something like that. So at the time of dispute, they say, okay, you that you do something like this. I think this is what the person is trying to say.
Okay. Yeah, it's not really healthy for either of the couples to make mockery. At the same time, like I said, during communication, a lot of things can come into play. Understanding is very, very key. Understanding is very key. Why? Some spouse can be making mockery in form of a joke and trying to like make the communication more flamboyant and making the communication more interesting by cracking jokes and by making mockery. Try to understand if that's the perspective. Try to know if your husband or your wife is the joking or mockery type. So if the mockery or joking coming during communication or interactions, just take it lightly and try to flow with that. Some may not even like joke. Some either the man or the woman may not even like joking. They are too like serious in number of issues. All right. Yes, these are part of the differences. But if the mockery comes in and the spouse, the husband is making mention of it during arguments, that's not healthy. Although it do happen. And when it happens, it is expected of the spouse, the other spouse, the wife in particular, to take it like a pinch of salt, because there is something very easy to understand. As humans, as individuals, we always remember the negative part of things. It's like a confirmed study from every population across the globe. We do understand and easily remember the negative side of things, either our partner, either what we read, either what we see on the TV. The negative side of things comes first before the positive. So don't be surprised that your husband is picking up on you when argument comes based on what he or she has known, based on what he has known you about in the previous discussion or communication or interaction. Or maybe perhaps it is even something he or she realized when both of you are in school together. He can bring it up during arguments and use it as a kind of an abusive term. So it shouldn't be an issue. Give the excuse that, oh, yeah, I can understand the negative thing comes to you first, and that's why you are pushing it to me. I can understand that, yes, you easily pick up on the bad side of what I've done than getting to understand the positive side of what I've done. I can, it's very clear I've done this, but look at other things I've done. We need to understand that. We always remember the negative side of things easily, and that comes in. So let's try and understand our communication patterns to that level. Secondly, it's on the issue of.
I wanted to add to that question because this is relating to communication. Well,
Okay.
that's Sister Kapila, which she said, what if the spouse doesn't even communicate at all? I mean, in the relationship, that it doesn't communicate, and even if you seek for his opinion, you just give a monotonic response. So maybe you can just add it to this discussion. So answer it together.
Not communicating at all must have gotten some precedents. Yeah, some men may not even want to say anything because, yeah, they are angry, the wife has done something, and they keep mute. They only give short answers, and maybe they're only taking their time to express their anger with that muteness. Yeah, it all calls for understanding. Take your time, make sure you keep interacting, make sure you are good to him. Yeah, maybe the man needs a space, okay, those kind of thing. But if it's like more of not wanting to communicate at all, and maybe some precedents have happened that must have hurt his feelings, that must have led to why he's behaving like that. Mind you, a lot of factors must have come in place for a man to keep mute. He cannot go to work and come back in the evening and just keep mute. At least he will ask for something. All right. So let's try and understand the exact cause of that muteness and see how well we can move on with that. Communication is very key. If the man is not really okay with the marriage, maybe it's even like seeing somebody else outside. Yes, he must have been in the office and he's so amazed with the female colleague in the office. And when he gets back home, it's like everything is bored to him. You make your home to be the most interesting place for him, or you make your home to be the most interesting place for your wife, because you have no idea what he or she must have seen outside. Okay, so we need to look at all these factors. I have no idea of what must have led for this guy, the man, to be muting, but yeah, let's try to see a bigger picture of what must have led to that. Because communication is very key. He has to be saying something. He has to interact. He has to ask you what must have happened for the day. How have you been able to address the issues? Was there a traffic today on this road? I mean, something should come up. Even on the phone, communication can take place through the phone. Send a message to him or her, crack a joke, send one latest news out. This is what is happening today. And I mean, try to trigger something. But if he's keeping mute, maybe there are some underlying factors that must have led to that, which need to be addressed. Voila.
Okay, so I think I will jump one of the questions. So this one is about okay, the only one spouse is putting all of the effort. I mean, to make the marriage work. What will happen in this case? What should the person do?
Yeah, that might be as a result of some number of factors also. If the woman is not working or the man is not working and one particular spouse is doing everything, yeah, the other spouse needs to be complementing the effort of the other. The other spouse cannot be doing anything. He or she needs to do something.
But according to this question, so in this case, the other partner is still taking glory for the effort he didn't make. So maybe in terms of finance or something, he didn't make effort to do it, but he's taking glory for it. Enjoys taking glory for it. I think so. Okay.
I see. Now, I don't know which party is taking glory on the other, but the thing is, for the marriage to work and for mutual understanding, for mutual supportiveness, which is one of the points we raised, it all depends on what this particular question is referring to in terms of taking glory for what it's not doing. All right. The bottom line is, if both of them are actually married and both of them are living fine, and maybe the glory we are talking about is only being taken in social media or a particular event on social media or among some group of few friends, I mean, that does not really count. everybody in the community, everybody knows you are the one working, and it's like you are the one providing. That's a point everybody knows. Your real friends, your colleagues, your mates knows that, oh, this is what your husband is doing. He's not really having much, but you are the one supporting him. You should understand the fact that for every man, there is a very good supporting woman. Everybody accepts that. So people who really knows you, people who really knows both of you, knows that you are the one helping out because your husband is having this issue. He has maybe possibly lost his job recently, or he has a problem with his boss and things are not really working well, or maybe he lost a particular contract. Things may not be working for him, but things are working for you. He's not really making glory out of it, but I don't really know the details, but the fact remains that those who really know both of you understand fully well, you owns the glory. Yeah, so that really should not be a factor. That really should not be a factor. The husband might be making some noise in the social media of what he has in the house. I mean, so a lot of funny things happen on social media anyway, and some people can post anything. But the reality is, real friends, family members, those who are really aware of what the family is all about, knows that, yes, you are doing a lot to supplement for the family. You are the one taking care of the kids. You are paying their tuition fees and everything. I mean, nobody can take your glory if it's that way. But we need to understand the fact that, yes, things can go downturn when argument sets in and, you know.
So, okay. I think this question is later, so we can just move to the next one. The last question, second to the last. So this person is asking, you are saying that maybe he's trying to reference to what you have said about trying not to encourage divorce by considering the children. So the person is now saying, okay, which one is better, to lose for the child to lose one of their parents, or for them to have to miss their parents, or the effect of divorce? So the deceased person is asking which one have more effect on the child.
No, technically, bereavement with the loss of a particular parent can be very devastating emotionally for the kids, okay, for the children, especially when they understand the impact of death, okay? And they easily get the support of, technically, they also get support from family members and caregivers because they are now orphans in a way, or the other parent is doing everything possible to make sure things work well. On the other side, if it's a divorced issue, in fact, I have one of my PhD students who is writing a thesis on grief about children who parents got divorced. The children are experiencing grief as if their parents are dead, or one of their parents is dead. This is in Dubai. There is an increasing level of divorce in this place. And she's writing on the effect of grief among children whose parents got divorced. All right. So grief can come in after divorce. Grief can come in after the death of a parent. Now, if you want to see the similarity or which one is more devastating, I can tell you it is the divorced parents. Because what happens, like the case study I mentioned, the aftermath of what happens to the children continues with the parents moving on. Looking at the case of the man who got married to another woman, and the ex-wife getting to know that the ex-husband has gotten married to another woman makes her more emotionally distressed. So she doesn't even want her boy, her son, to go to see the father anymore. She wants a full custody. That is another fight going on. So the aftermath of I mean, now let's assume the woman also moved on and got married to another man. It is now a question of, oh, is the man going to take responsibility of the child that is not his? I don't know if that is. I was discussing this issue with a family who this issue happens to in the Southwest. And I was getting a kind of a Yoruba cultural norm that no. The man is not responsible for the stepfather is not responsible for the woman's children. And I was like, is this a Yoruba thing or Islam? No. He said it's a Yoruba one. And I was like, how no, that's not good enough. If a man is getting married to a divorced woman with kids, he should take responsibility of all of them. So the issue continues like that. So I can really easily pick a child experiencing grief and distress from a divorced parent as compared to the death of one parent. It can get to that level. Divorce effect continues when both parents are still alive. It continues like that. At the time when the children get older, they get older and they become teenagers and they're getting to understand the effect, the children find it even difficult to like one parent to the other. They may decide to even choose. It's like, I'm not going to see my mom anymore. They don't want to even see their dad to their face anymore, based on the information one party is given to the children. It all continue to get messed up, if I'm going to use that term. And the psychological effect on the children continues. Somebody has mentioned in the chat that it's a childhood trauma. I don't know what exactly that means, but yeah, it's something really devastating. So divorce is really not a good option. But if it's going to happen as a result of last resort, I think it's okay. But at the same time, every amenities available, every opportunity available need to be explored before it can, be taken as a last resort. Wallah.
Okay, thank you very much. I think the last question, I'm not sure if you are confident to answer that one. I just said that it's relating to the student's question. That what is the effects of one single divorce pronouncement in Islam? I.e., before making a full pronouncement.
Oh, yeah, this is a fiqh issue. As we all know, it has to be pronounced thrice. I don't really know much on this, but what I know regarding this from a lecture I attended some times ago is Allah wants both of them to understand that what you are trying to go into is not something palatable. It's not something easy to live with after it has happened. So when you pronounce it once, the man needs to understand that he has 3 pronouncements. When you pronounce it once, please take a pause, try to look at the issues again, because the implication of the 3rd one means that if this woman gets married to another man, you can only touch this woman again when he gets married to another man and that man divorces her. So whatever is in between the two of you, try to resolve it now. After the first pronouncement, think again. After the second pronouncement, please think again. Because if this woman leaves you after the 3rd pronouncement, it is compulsory for her to get married to somebody else. That person needs to divorce her if it gets to that before you can even see her or touch her again. So think twice again. So that's the essence. It has to be 3 times. The first pronouncement is a wake-up call. It's a warning call because you are the one making the call, right? So while you are making the call, please watch out again. It's a precautionary 3 steps call, all right? And it makes a lot of sense. Allah doesn't want it to happen. Allah really hates it, but it is allowed. You understand? So yeah, every man needs to understand this before they make the call. For any man to easily make this call is already like a dysfunctional man who doesn't want that marriage to work. I even learned in some areas in the north that some men are too smart to think that, okay, they have 2 wives, they have 3 wives, and they find it easy to divorce one, maybe the 3rd one or the 1st one, and marry another one to make it 3 again, okay, in order not to cross the 4th stage. So they keep divorcing and marrying again. They keep divorcing and marrying again. I don't know how true is that, but I heard from a friend. So, I mean, those men are not worthy of even marrying in the first place. Yeah, so that is unspeakable. That is not Islam. I don't know why it is like that, but it's a very simple example of men taking advantage of women. All right. So those kind of men are not supposed to live in a normal Muslim society. It's unspeakable. But for pronouncing the divorce, it's a precautionary measure.
Doctor, sorry for
Yes.
breaking through. I'm sorry for breaking through. I just need to quickly address this. Sister Hafsa or Madam Hafsa, whoever she is, please understand that what doctor is saying is that you should stay in a marriage that will lead to your loss of life, if it is personal. I'm saying if this question, if your matter is personal, if you're talking about yourself, so please, nothing of this nature should lead to death. Don't wait until you are dead before you, the children may not even find any solution to it even after your death. Okay, so by this, yuridullahu bikumul yusra wa la yuridu bikumul usra. Allah does not want this to lead to death or loss of life of any of you. If it is what you are going through personally, this is a red flag, all right, that you are not wanted in that marriage and you are not wanted in that family. Now, the earlier you opt out, the better you see, to seek a solution. But this is just not what the doctor is talking about. So if there is a solution to it, so that is the way and the path towards which doctor is channeling you to. But if it is already leading and giving you more than 2 yellow cards and light, that is a red flag already. Opt out. Sorry for breaking through, doctor. You may continue.
Valuable. Thank you very much. I think the red flag that you even mentioned, I think you mentioned it earlier, and that's why when listening to answers, we should put it in context. So you even mentioned earlier that when you have 2 yellows, that's a red flag already. So no, because the question comes into which one is worse and which and all that. So sometimes the way we ask questions, we don't want to. It's not treating it as a personal question. So staff should understand that, please, and should never think of committing suicide, because that's like a suicide. May Allah help you out, and please, you're free to reach out if you really need help. That's why
Let me also say thank you to Boy Muhammad for raising that. Yeah, it's not really a do or die thing. We're only doing everything possible to safeguard the marriage if there are chances to do that. But it is really allowed. I mean, the woman, if the abuse is so much. I gave an instance of a woman here. She called it off already in front of the therapist. But at the same time, she's saying that, no, I still need his money. He's taking care of my kids. He's taking care of me. He's still buying me gifts. And I'm not going to quit, even though everybody's advising me to quit. All right? She's like out of that marriage, but she's just staying inside because of money. Nothing more. And the abuse keep happening. So if this case, like what Dr. Muhammad has just read, is at a point of no return, that is, the woman cannot bear it anymore. No, it shouldn't even get to the level of death. You should take every step back and, call for it and end the marriage. I mean, it's so much allowed. It's only just like being discouraged. Allah. Thank you so much for your addition.
Jazakumullah khairan for all the contribution. It's been very engaging, and thank you so much for the Malaysians, let me call you Malaysians who are in attendance. I know Dr. Salami and Dr. Mutiu, I believe it's 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock over there. So I know it's taking a toll on you more than those of us in the other parts of the world. Thank you so much. May Allah reward you. And I would just like to conclude the session. I don't want to keep you waiting, and we've already taken much of your time. So if you permit me, want to say a big jazakallah khairan to you and to everyone who is in attendance. And we hope that this will be a way forward to save many lives and to save generations, inshallah. And let it be like a stepping stone to increase our knowledge in what has been discussed. These are vital information that I've been giving out today. And we want to hope that these are some of the discussion I want to be raising, which we want to put in context of our environment, not just something that we can also hear better things in international world. And Jazakallah khairan for the contribution, Dr. Salami. May Allah reward you. That's the only thing we can say. There is nothing that we can say to you that will serve as a reward to what you have just given us today. And I want to say thank you all to the task force members, Sister Shakira, Sister Anifa, and all of the crew in the background. May Allah reward you all abundantly. So with that, I'll say a dua and we'll end it there, inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. مع السلامة.
السلام.